Welcome to Adorned in Imagination. I'm your host, Josh Miller. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by A.W. Shields from the Root Cause Collective for a conversation about the transformational power of style and story and the ability we each have to imagine ourselves into existence. A.W. Shields, so good to be with you today.
So that's the same. This is what I needed to start my day off with. So thank you.
I agree with you. I was so looking forward to this conversation, and I've really just enjoyed getting to be in community together through the wellness cohort you all led for our Source Fellowship, and just getting to kind of build a relationship from there. And where I'd love to start for today, for you, how are you imagining yourself into existence at this point in your life?
Whew, this is a very spiritual question. When you say that, I'm like, oh, it's almost like a word to me. It is a really transformative time for me. The kind of times, if you're astrology person, like a Pluto, Scorpio, underworld, everything shifts in your life. My whole identity, my material world, I got a lot going on. And so this idea of imagining myself to existence feels very tangible. I feel like how I'm doing that is this almost out of body, out of mind sometimes. I'm just really thinking about who I want to be, who I've been. And you'll hear a lot about this today. Just my ancestry has been a strong part of my identity that I didn't know I could connect to until a couple years ago. So there's a relearning of self happening. And so there are times where I'm just allowing myself to explore what draws me. So I'll just kind of walk around and go to the grocery store or hear a song and it just be like hitting my soul, and I play it a million times. And then eventually I'm like, oh, that's what it's teaching me about myself. I'm very much in a space of needing like that artistic inspiration, imagination. And when artists are kind of in that studio, they just need to be inspired. And I find myself being put together by environmental inspirations, being in community, being outside, music, art. And then I'm going, oh, that's me. Oh, that's me? Like, I'm not sure if I'm ready for that. And then I had to play it a couple more times. So very much uncertain, unsettled, but intentionally curious and intentionally, voluntarily uprooting my identity and myself and my relationships and my life, because I do feel like my soul is like, there's more. And so, yeah.
The expansion, continuing to understand and to explore all of that.
Yeah, just being open.
That's one of the things that I feel like each conversation that I've had with you and each like workshop that we've been in, like you always there's that part of you that you bring of like the willingness to continuously like question and to explore and to see what is out there, and that's one of the things I really appreciate about you.
I appreciate that because so my work, I say like I specialize in identity formation, in terms of the technical. And if you're in the spiritual world, it's soul retrieval, which one, with mental health or not. And I do this all the time for everybody. I love it. I love helping people connect themselves back to their souls. I never realized or never ready for when the spirit's like, so now it's your turn.
You're up.
I'm like, wait, what? Like, so it has been a hell of a couple of years. And to have you say that back is really meaningful because when I'm not knowing, it's not that we not know who we are. I think our soul knows what it is and it's just kind of like over there. No, turn over here. It's really, it's hard. So
yeah, you mentioned your ancestral practices a minute ago, and so I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about, your childhood and upbringing, and also as you've learned about your ancestral practices, how those are shaping you and the practices you have.
Yes, little black girl in LA. Well, not even LA, about 45 minutes east LA, California, Southern California. And I say that because Southern California is such an interesting place to be raised. I love the culture and the creativity and the progressiveness and all those things. And I will tell people all the time, people will fight me on this. I find SoCal being one of the most diverse anti-Black places I've ever lived. And it was tough. It was tough, I think, for a Black female to feel pretty, to feel accepted. There's a whole podcast on that. So I had a lot of internal shame, body dysmorphia. It's Hollywood. So if you don't fit the role, and yet and still, I found myself constantly gathering people and creating like really good programs and communities.
Yeah.
I remember on my block was very diverse, which I miss. I'm in the South, but it was just like everybody from everywhere in the world. And all the kids would just be roaming the streets like Sandlot. And so one day when Lion King had just hit the scene and I was inspired. And so I got everybody on rollerblades because they were a big thing then. And we got in this garage and I created the entire Lion King, theater production on rollerblades with 5-year-olds to 15-year-olds, and I was the director, and we were skating, and it was ice capades, and we sold tickets, like, and I would just always do those things as a kid, despite feeling so much like physical, like I'm not pretty and I'm not this. I was very purposeful and I was very powerful, and so that does still shape how I move in the world. I do feel pretty now, thank God, but I still feel very powerful and like bringing people together to create things that we haven't seen in the world. And now I'm learning that's very much tied to my ancestry. I was raised Christian, evangelical, very, kind of more narrow belief systems. And then my journey in adulthood, went to Union Theological Seminary and studied with James Cone and got my world broke open. And I think I left that faith, evangelical, theological background of my childhood. I don't really subscribe to that anymore. But since then, have just had the world open up to liberation theologies, but more importantly, earth-based spirituality. And that brought in this practice of ancestor veneration that I opened up my altar 2 years ago now, and it was like my life changed overnight. I know it sounds crazy, but I think religion spirituality is beautiful, and I'm very interested. I study it, but I don't believe in things a lot. I'm very simple. I'm like, we'll see, very skeptical. And I opened my altar, and I had these experiences that my little linear brain was like, that wasn't me. And so since then, to not go too far into the rabbit hole of all the cool things I experienced, it is clear to me that particularly Black folk, but I think everybody, our ancestors have knowledge for us to survive the times. They know the land, they know the people, they know the politics. It's not something new we're seeing. And I felt like the Spirit was like, I feel like Jesus was like, hey, let me introduce you some people for a while. Like they know how to get through this land, this situation. And that has been practically helpful, like business advice and relationship advice, and just like, hey, your child might be hurting, things like that. But which has really been powerful is my identity. And that's core to my work and who I am. It's been this like whole transformation of finding pride differently. We're in Pride Month. Woo, shout out.
Yes.
Smart people. And I think about what that means often. And I used to put my pride in kind of like, I don't care if you don't think I'm human, I think I'm human, and that is a very beautiful pride. But now my pride is in something that predates colonization, predates homophobia, it's like ancient, as if who I am was the original form. And so when I walk into moments, it's kind of like, like y'all know, like peons, like you have no idea. Back in my day, back in this day, we ran the show.
Lifetimes ago.
Yeah, queer people ran everything, like they don't get it, or Black. Like I just think that there's a deeper, predated, untraumatized, soul that I was able to access. I know we talk about psilocybin. I've done a few therapeutic trips, and one of my first ones was a Middle Passage, just complete healing. Like my people, I went back to that moment, and I feel like I healed that trauma in my lineage, and I feel like I returned to who we were before that experience, and that's in me. It's not even it's not logical. I just walk in rooms different, and so I'm tangenting, but I've gotten advice, but more importantly, I've gotten identity rooted in something that they can't take from me. They can't touch it. It is core, and it's so. I want everyone to have to find, no matter what race you are, to find that ancestry that was before,
It sounds like, as a very young person, like it would intuitively, you were already an organizer. You knew we can come together and we're going to build something, and we just do it.
We just do it.
We don't wait. We're doing it, which I love. And I wonder if, as you talk about finding or like reconnecting to these past lives, this feeling, could you describe what it like feels like in your body now? Because it sounds like that rooting was such a big piece of how you experience it, and I wonder if you can just name either the shift or like how it sits now.
Oh, that's a great question. I'm an Aquarius. I say that because we're crazy cool, but we see the whole community. So we're kind of always outside of it, which is a blessing and a curse. And I think there's a lot of, and I have a Cancer moon, so I'm hella emotional. People don't know this. So there's a lot of loneliness feelings, or a lot of disconnect from feeling like I belong. All that to say, to answer your question, what has shifted is I belong. So I feel like that. And that is a testimony that I actually feel connected. I feel like I have a home. I feel like I have a people, even though I don't even know who they are. My people were taken, and I'm so mixed. I got so many different countries in my body and my ancestry, but I know them. I feel them. I feel drawn when I go. We're going to talk about jewelry, but when I go somewhere and I see something, I'm like, huh. And I put it on and I'm like, that's somebody, you know? So there's a sense of belonging. And when you know you belong somewhere, you kind of know where you come from, you're just, whatever people say, you're like, whatever, you know, it's like it doesn't hit the same way because you're not open. I'm filled in. So I feel like I belong, and I keep coming to Pride. I feel pretty indignant, like people owe me things, Pride. There's a worth and a value that I have that again predates what norms say about me. And so it's like the foolish thing saying the wise. I'm like, you all think this, but you don't realize is like, you know, this is the golden thing. This is what gets you forward. Almost so much that my whole ideology believes in this. James Cone was my professor. He would say, like, you know, God is the God of the oppressed. And God loves all God's children, but if you want to find God, you'll see God hovering with those in which the system pushes down, like a mom with a sick child. Like, mom loves everybody, but she's gonna be with that sick baby. And if you want to know where mom is, she's with a sick baby. And so it's like the potency, the creativity, the joy, all the fruits of the spirit hover at the bottom. And not that I want to glorify the bottom, and I don't want to be I'm not trying to make people the bottom. But when you are the bottom, you know that your ideas are the juiciest. You know that your music is the best. You know that your style is going to pop. Like, it's just, and it's not because you're better. It's because the Spirit of God is literally more palpable. And I really believe that. I find my marginalized identities because of my ancestry are like, we got the conch. You know, we got this power that is unseen. And so, yeah, that little girl that would just be like, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. I think that came out of like, because you can. And it was a hit. We made money too. We made a lot of money at 10 years old. So there's a pride and there's a belonging and a real bold, like, say what you want, but you can't convince me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I would say as I started to experience my own version of that rooted belonging feeling, also kind of coincided was when I was developing for myself, like my morning ritual, my adornment ritual. How do I want to show up, and what does that, help me embody? And so I wonder for you, do you have an adornment ritual? Like, what does that play within your life? And is it, I guess this is a two-parter, but also for you, how is adornment connected to abolition work or liberation work?
Yes, I love this. Yes, I do. I actually watched this Netflix film, Our Mother's Garden, created by Chantrell P. Lewis. And there was a woman on there called Mama Coco. Her handle is, I think, Compton Author. This incredibly incredible magnetic influencer from New Orleans, one of our elders. And in the Netflix film, this is kind of what got me starting with this adornment. So this is why I'm answering it. She was wearing all this jewelry and she's like, this is my armor. And I was like watching this, like, and she's talking about how she puts it on to like ward off spirits. And she goes to certain places like, oh no, they need this and this and this. And my little soul just screamed, that's us. Whatever she is, that's you. It was just like, and at the time I didn't know ancestries. I didn't know anything about these other spiritualities. Yeah. And so it just struck me. And over time, I would find jewelry and be like, I need to put that, I'm going over here. I need to put that on. I should wear that over there. And now I'm learning it is a spiritual practice. It's actually a spiritual practice in some traditions. And so it's mine. And I wear it for intention, like actual intentions, whether it's protection or, you know, people might wear crystals and stuff like that for the energy it brings, for identity. But I used to put it on because it looked good. And now it's like, I'm going to need this today. So it's very much a functional addition. And it is intuitive. Sometimes I want to look a certain way. You know, you want to look a certain way. Yeah. And I'll put it on and it just doesn't look right. Or it's like, no, that's not what you need today. Or why are you doing that? Like, you over
this day calls for something else.
That's right. Like this morning I was wearing something totally different and I was like, man, we doing that. And so she gave me a gift in her being open about her practice because I didn't know it was a practice. And now I collect, usually I'll buy from people I can look in their eyes. So it's kind of I don't always, but it's a story. So my friends give me jewelry from their people who've passed in their life. It's just kind of a natural thing that happened. And so I carry grandma's this or auntie's this, which is meaningful. But if I'm buying a lot of street vendors, people who I can talk to hear their story, just to know who they are, because I think art in general, the intention behind whoever created it, the feeling, you wear that, you bear that. Yeah, and so sometimes absolutely. I'm like, what did this come out of? What were you thinking here? And oh yeah, I need that, whether it looks like anything. And so I do, if I can, I can touch their hands or I can talk to them if I can, or at least know their story. And so when I wear it, I feel like that comes with me. Yeah.
That piece that you named of getting to whether it's look them in the eye, talk to them directly, learn about the process or like what it was that inspired them to create it. Like I love that as well. And if I can meet them in person, like that is, I think, because you're also, like you were saying, you're carrying the story. Like this necklace is from Salvador Bahia, Brazil. And so that's when Hannah and I were there for the Global Artivism Summit. So like each time we're now carrying all the energy of it, all of those different facets, which I love.
Hmm.
And that's something I think about very actively as well.
Yes.
So you're wearing a gorgeous necklace. We've got earrings, you've got this amazing neckline. So can you talk to us about what you're wearing and maybe what within you, you mentioned this wasn't what you planned on. So like what was the shift you felt within you that brought this adornment to us today?
Uh, so this, I appreciate this. This is Mother Sierra. I found them on Instagram. You can too. They are a ethically crafted group of artisan designers from Mexico and Guatemala. And I remember seeing this particular piece, just it popped up in my feed. And I was like, and it was a time where I was connecting with my ancestry. I have ancestry from Central America and in the Caribbean in terms of like where my people landed. But I didn't know I had people from Central America at the time. I was raised in LA my whole life and loved like all things Mexican culture, but was like, oh, this is not mine. Come to find out, my great-great-grandmother was from Oaxaca, which I didn't know. And so I'm like, oh my God. But I got this before I knew that. All that to say, the teal is the color I love. At the time, I just bought it because it was pretty. And more, like I said, my great-great-grandmother is Oaxacan. And I think for me, why I chose it today, I am in like I said, a huge personal transformation, which comes with so much faith and change and possibilities and so much grief and loss. Just be quite honest. So there's a deep grief I'm in today. And I was going to wear something else and I thought there's just like this beauty, there's a regalness, there's a strength, there is a centeredness when I tap into my people from the past. And I feel like that's where I was like, when I was looking through my jewelry, it was like, oh, yes, I'm in a current state of transition. Yes, it's grieving. Yes, I'm losing things. And when I think about who wore the woman who wore this, or the man who wore this, or the people who wore this is like, it predates that. It predates the trauma. And it feels like I'm going more deeper into who these people are. And so it feels like I'm losing a lot, but I'm going to be able to walk with that kind of energy that I know I'm called to do. And so I wore this to represent my ancestry. There's this term called Sankofa in our tradition that is like a bird looking back but moving forward. And that belief is sitting so strong, like as I become this new person that I have no idea who I have no idea what's about to happen in my life. Y'all, it's juicy stories happening in my life right now. And I'm like, I have no idea where I'm going to live, all this stuff. And it's like, my head is like, look back to her. And as my body is literally moving forward I can't see forward, but I just see this and I'm like, oh, she's the shit. Okay. Like this woman is confident and she's strong and she's on top of the world and she's running things and she's, loved and all these things. And so I'm literally like looking at her as I'm moving forward. And that reminds me in the midst of grief. And was there another part of that?
Yeah, also your earrings.
This is a story. So these are created by, he goes by Slavery, that's his name, identifies as the international cotton artist. And he's a Gullah Geechee farmer and designer out of South Carolina. I was on 125th Street in New York not too long ago. And shout out, I'm going to make sure he's tagged on this. I walked up to his stand. So I buy jewelry all the time in New York off the street. That's where I go. Yeah. And he's just sitting there with I love copper. So copper is my thing. And there's all this copper, and he's got this thing on his head that's all copper, and I'm like, ooh, who is this? And I get closer, and I see all this cotton, and my body had a physical reaction, and I went, ooh, and I stepped back, and I could still feel it in my chest. I felt this dark feeling in my chest. I was afraid, and I stepped back, and I was just like, and he goes, this is the line he says. I'm going to pull it up because he said it. He said it to me then, and I want to make sure I say it right. He goes, slavery is one thing, cotton is another. Cotton is innocent. And I was like, I wasn't ready. I'm still not ready. My heart was like, what just happened? And I'm angry. I'm angry at him. I'm angry at the table. And I don't know this person. And they're like, they caught me, And so I'm breathing deep and he says, I know what you're thinking. And he goes into the story of how cotton is all these things. And when I moved to the South, people decorate with cotton and I'm always hell offended. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah. Like, take that off. I don't know what you're doing. And I just don't like it. And so long story short, he speaks to me for like 30, 40 minutes. And my hands are trembling because remember, jewelry is spiritual for me. So I'm feeling extremely convicted and my brain is like, I don't know what's happening. And he says, we have given cotton a bad rap. Cotton is this beautiful, spiritual, powerful. I'm also a herbalist. So as he's talking about the traits of cotton, I'm like, my brain going, you're right. Cotton is beautiful and it's powerful and it's so much. It's cleansing. It has all these properties. But I've never talked about that part of her because I'm like, boom, immediately traumatized when I see it. And he pretty much was like, you should consider it. And it was about 45 minutes. I'm sitting in front of him and I'm praying and I'm like negotiating with him as if it's like a thing, and he's negotiating. He's like holding space for me. And I just said, I'm going to get some, but I don't know when I can wear it. And it was like this feel, I'm nervous right now even talking about it. Like I get nervous. And I'm like, I know it's a call to something that I am not ready to call. I'm not ready to heal that part. My people are like, hell no. People are going to talk shit about, like, it's like going to be a whole thing that I'm wearing cotton. So this is real cotton.
I believe it.
And it's on like,
It looks like it was just picked directly out of the field and put on an earring.
It is exactly that. There's a bunch of copper inside. Okay. Gorgeous. He has gorgeous stuff. I mean, there's bracelets, there's things all over. He has cottons with thorns, and I could not wear those. I asked them, my people were like, no, they mean different things. All that to say, this is the first time I've worn them. And I was going to wear them I have a conference this summer that I'm going to wear them at, but I wasn't going to wear them today. And what hit me in that was my own grief I'm walking through. What I'm walking through, there's a lot of elements of shame that you have. When you go through trauma, it's crazy how you feel bad about it when it's not even you. And there was something about the cotton getting a bad rap that felt like, an A-dub's getting a bad rap in your own mind. And this is not even your fault. And like, what people think about you or what people are going to name about you is one thing. It's almost like slavery is one thing, but cotton is another. And it's like, what you're walking through is one thing, but A-dub is another. And that being able to split who I am, who I came here to be with what I'm currently journeying, what I'm losing and what I feel. It's like happening real time right now. It's a word. It's like you can bear these and people I'm gonna get heat for these. I get it. I'm not really ready to walk out. But I think there's something powerful about cotton. Cotton didn't do it, In fact, it clothed an entire nation and it did a lot for a lot of people and it still does. And there are a lot of African diaspora people who still feel very tied to it because for 400 years is what we knew. Now everybody wants to find cotton again because you can't find it. Everything's polyester, right?
Yeah.
So there's something about the spiritual properties that I find when I wear it now. For me right now, it is helping me separate my grief, my trauma, my shame from who my soul is. And I know one day I'm gonna be her. And I get there through accepting my actual lineage and my actual what I walk through. So I'm getting emotional even talking about it because I literally had something else, but it was just like, nope, wear that. And so, yeah.
Yeah, when you got on the camera and I was like, what are the, and then I looked closer and I was like, oh, okay,
we're doing
here we got, okay. But I think there, like in the way that you talked about it, there is something really important about a reclaiming, right? You're talking about like a reclaiming of self in a way, but also like the relationship to something that is natural, and that's something that has clothed us, adorned us, been this whole piece of a collective journey. And there's a quote, and I can't remember who said it at the moment, so I'm going to look and I'll add it in the notes afterward. But he said, "I don't know where I'm going, but I know exactly how to get there." And that, when you were talking about the facets of what you're grappling with right now and like the evolution that's happening, that's what came to mind, even in the relationship of the two pieces, that like the dialogue that they're having with each other about the space that they are holding.
Yeah. You mind if something you brought up in me, I would say this for African diasporic people, particularly Black American, for myself, I'll speak myself, it is very easy for me to have pride in claiming my Mexican heritage. That feels like exciting. That feels positive. That feels to claim a slave heritage feels different. And I'm learning, for some people, they have a lot of pride in that. For me, I'm learning I had internalized the negativity of the story. And so, because it's traumatizing, but it's also shame. I don't know why we feel shame. Like, why am I shameful for what y'all, what somebody else did to me? But I carry that. And so when you said the relationship is like, I'm like, oh, I'm going towards her and I'm going through this. And I realize I'm like, wow, this though, one day we're going to see this and be like, wow, like there's something there that's like you said, the reclaiming is in the pride, is in the beauty. So there's trauma, but like when you see these things, they're gorgeous.
Yeah, they are.
I've never seen cotton close up. I didn't want to touch it. I was like, nope, not close. And so, yeah, I really appreciate that. Like what it's reclaiming for me is real time. It's more, it keeps every day. And there's something about like beauty being mine that in my actual lineage that I would be ashamed of. in a different way.
Yeah, you specifically, like you're talking about the history of enslavement and how we think about that. And we're currently through Unknown Project working on a sculpture park, and one of the bronzes that we're adding is of an enslaved man and an enslaved woman, and it represents all of the labor across the continuum of skills and backbreaking labor and mental and emotional, like all of the facets. But it is being created very much by the artist with a sense of dignity and with respect, and all of the facets of an embodied human being who carved out and created joy, who made family, who had like all of these things that all coexisted. And so I really just, when you were talking about how does that relationship shift, that understanding, that's, a parallel to what that sculpture and what the sculpture park is trying to do, is how do we relate to that history differently?
That's right.
So I appreciate you sharing that and showing up today as the first time wearing the earrings, and letting yourself sit with that.
Yeah, yeah. And what point do we for us internally who experience that get to switch it? I think about like, yeah, how we take, we take everything, like the word queer, we turn the N word, we take it and turn it, but sometimes we don't take it and turn it with that elevation. And I'm like, how do we take this and turn this with that same elevation of pride and beauty and excellence and all these things? I'm excited about this culture too. I'm like, oh, yeah, I need it. We need it.
New pathways opening.
When you see it, like I imagine when I'm in front of it, it evokes, just like jewelry, it's going to evoke a part of my identity that I couldn't access without it. It's an imagination. Like right now, I'm needing to see parts of my soul that I can't access unless I see it. So shout out to all my designers and my artists. Like, this is why I love following you. It's like you give me this futuristic space that I can't access without seeing it first. I'm like, oh, that's where,
The imagination piece, I think, is so, and I'm forgetting the podcast that this was on, but one of the questions was, whose imagination are you living in? And when I was hearing that, I was getting ready to go for a photo shoot for something. And I was having this internal conflict of how am I going to show up for this? And the adornment and imagination piece for me has really played into, because I haven't seen things represented almost ever of what I envision I can look like.
Yeah.
There was a for 40 under 40 years and years ago, one of their questions was, who if your life is a movie, who would play you? And I literally did not have an answer. And I asked my husband, I'm like, who would play me? We're like driving in the car from something, and I have like an hour to get this in. And he's like, Angelina Jolie. And I like love Angelina Jolie. She's amazing, but like I don't feel like that fully embodies me. So I submitted it would be a mashup of two people as a person. Like it just didn't exist. And so through the adornment ritual now, imagining the thing that I didn't get to see before.
That's something. It made me think about the latter part of the question was abolition. When you said that, I was like, I've heard somebody said that abolitionists just create what doesn't exist. Like that's pretty clear. And of course, we take down systems of industrial compilation. Of course, we don't. But really, what that is creating this world that doesn't exist. And so I think about, we talked at one point, to see something in material form, to have a vision and to put it in material form that others can put on their body or at least put in their space. Like we said, the vision beyond. Anytime I do coaching with my people, I go, if there was no oppression, what would you do? Kind of like, who would play you? What would you do? And I'm like, if there's no oppression, I don't know. I mean, that's my whole life is trying to get rid of like systems. And I was just like, wow. And one of my colleagues says, what are we freeing people into? Is it just another cycle of martyrdom to get rid of systems? Well, yeah, but if we can see beyond the colonized state, if we can see beyond, like how I can see back, I can see before colonization, that's what gives me my root. If I can see beyond it. And so I do think the jewelry, the art, the visionary expression gives us that North Star, the cord, that when it's hitting you hard or you're going through grief, you're just like, because I see, like, even watching myself right now with these two, I'm like, oh my God, this is beautiful. I'm gonna put these together more often. Like, she came to say some things about some people. And I'm like, I never saw this together, ever. I've never seen that together. And so I appreciate you naming, like, if somebody played you, I immediately was like, who would play you? And I could get stuck on, it's an injustice that somebody isn't in the industry that can play you. I can harp on that and yell about it and go do some policy around that. Beautiful. And I can also be like, I'm gonna put two people together and imagine something. And now I'm like, now a little person's gonna be like, I can be that person one day. I'm that person that they imagined. Like, it gives us space to move into, and I appreciate that.
I love that you talk about how even seeing yourself reflected back in the conversation and those pieces together and all of that, how that opens up a new pathway or a new doorway. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about a designer or designers or pieces that are really special to you and why, and give us a little bit of the story behind that.
Mm. My rings are from NB Designs, a local Raleigh, Durham area jewelry maker. I have Ashley Young. Another, when we have our extravaganza, she's always out selling, and she does copper. I don't know if you can see.
Oh, yeah. I
Just
love the
really,
stones with it.
and she made these kind of, custom for me. So the stones, of course, I picked for certain reasons, and the design, and her stuff is gorgeous. And I find it's really cool to be able to go to somebody locally and go, hey, can you make me this? And they know you, and they're like, I got this for you. So I wear these often for a lot of reasons. And then my nails, they're very chill today. They're usually not so chill. But this
Nice
is,
details,
yeah,
though.
it's the little drops. Good friend of mine on Instagram goes by Polished Muse. It's Paris, is my friend. And Paris is like she's an artist. She's actually an artist and she designs. If you see my IG, I have the crazy cool designs. And this one, I'm going through grief. And she goes, you usually have all stuff. I said, I need something. I feel stripped down bare. I need
Yeah.
something bare, but the little drops are like water drops and just kind of nourishment, but also tears. And so it's very subtle, but still kind of dainty. And so
Yeah.
I go to her and I tell her where I'm at, and then we just create these things together. Every month they're little sermons. I have to come back to
I
them.
love that.
And so I appreciate her. These next three, I'll be quick. I don't know who created them. This is my first, like I would say, real piece. And I wear this. This is actually my suit jacket because I don't like suits. So whenever I go into corporate settings or I mean business, it is protection. You'll see me with it on, like that.
Oh,
It's a
that's
great
lovely. The
effort.
cowrie shells. Yeah.
Yep, in our tradition, it is a sign of wealth and prosperity. The boss lady. But I ordered this. You will not believe it was from a African jeweler in Ghana, but it was like this online. I don't even know where I found it. So I wish I could have had the name of the person, but it was just an Etsy or something like that. And when I got it, it still had like dirt on it, like, and it smelled a particular way. And it was just like, oh my God, like this is not just authentic, but like somebody made this like right where they were. And so I just want to shout out that person. I wear this. This is my most powerful piece that I wear. And this was I go to consignment stores. And I went to this really swanky consignment shop in an area that I would think would be no like Black or Indigenous people. And somebody dropped off somebody's entire, I think, collection at one point because it didn't fit. This is one that was,
Wow.
and I knew it was from somebody brown is because it came with it earrings that are beaded that were 5%, 5%ers. You know, anything about 5%ers is like this kind of, I think it's a Harlem, New York-based belief or spirituality that understands Black people as gods. And it was like these beaded earrings, and it said 5%. I was like, those 5% earrings? Oh my God! In this random city, and she had all kinds of beautiful stuff, and I bought all of it. Like, so this is a very powerful piece, and it's very protective. If you cannot tell, so I do wear this when
What are
yeah.
are they spikes or needles?
They are, it's like
Okay.
copper again, which is my
And then
favorite.
dipped?
It's dipped, yeah, dipped and maybe pressed.
That's very cool. It almost reminds me of like porcupine quills.
Yeah. And so it's not, I don't think it's from here. It's like, I don't know. It's heavy and it's solid. And I immediately saw it and it was like, this is for me. And the last one I'll share, this I got from another vendor on a Kwanzaa celebration, and I do believe is Ghanaian. Like he goes back and forth, but it's just this beaded piece that I find. This is my celebratory.
That's
These two are
beautiful.
my celebratory.
Yeah.
When I feel like, I'm going to a ball. This is my Central American and this is my African background, but it reminds me of New Orleans and the Black Indians and the beads that they use and the power it brings. So these ones, I mean, you catch me, I wear them often, and I find, like I said, the people I can talk to if I can. This one, I couldn't talk to her or them or, whoever they are, but just smelling the smell of wherever they were, I was like, okay, I know you're a real person. It's not a factory, so yeah.
I appreciate you sharing all of those.
Yeah.
And I've seen in different, iterations of you, whether it's in workshops or out at dinner, like the ebb and flow of where and how your adornments show up. And I always love to see that.
Thank you. It is intentional, and it's my own little fun thing. Like if I ever had a movie, it'd be like you'd see me think, but nobody normally knows. But it's like I'm always sitting there like giggling in my head. One time, My artist, Polish Muse, she put the moon of Yemaya and the sword of Oya underneath chrome. So you couldn't see it unless you got close. And it was like major powers in this big workshop. And every time I talked with my hands, I was just like, you know,
Boom,
yeah,
boom, boom.
felt like a Marvel comment. I'm like, and you're getting this, you're getting this. And I think they got it. I think they got it.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate this conversation.
You mentioned the herbalism piece earlier. And I wonder as that's become more a part of your practice,
Mm.
how does that potentially intersect with the adornment piece? Obviously, you're wearing things from the earth, but are there other intersections for you as you've gotten deeper into that?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think plant medicine is I'm learning it and I'm also journeying with my own self. It is becoming, I'm such a heady person. I'm an intellect. I like to think, I like to vision. I'm a visionary and I'm not in my body. I'm just detached. I'm floating in the cosmos. And I think what I love about herbs is they bring you in your body and it's a different kind of spiritual awareness than theology or revelation or like word based, like, ooh, poet, I'm spoken word. That was deep. When you drink oat straw and your body just does this, you're like, there's no words, there's no thought.
Yeah.
Or right now, I'm really into like red raspberries and lemon balm and kind of motherwort kind of womb health stuff and mom stuff. I have just working through some mothering of self. And I mean, I'm drawn to it all the time. And when I'm drawn to an herb because I just keep needing it, I'm like, oh, I think I'm supposed to be dealing with my mothering right now. Or grief, my grief teas that you don't even know it's a grief tea. Or if you're walking outside and you see a flower, you're just so drawn to it, I would encourage you to look it up because that flower is probably telling you something. What I'm learning is more and more the earth speaks to us if we're listening. Even hearing myself, I'm like, these people think I'm crazy. And I'm like, and that's what pride's all about. We're different.
Yeah.
I'm out abnormal. I'm out of this world. I'm beyond the average. I'm future. I'm beyond the scope. And I find myself, I don't really watch TV as much now, but I'll sit in my backyard and like a woodpecker will come. And I'm like, what is a woodpecker? And then I'm blown away because I'm like, oh my God, the woodpecker was trying to tell me something. So plants and natural like rocks, mostly plants is where I'm living right now. Whenever you're drawn to them or repulsed by them, that's also something I listen to. And I'm trying to, when I walk spaces, notice what I like, what I don't, because it's probably messages. And then when my body is needing things, instead of going to people or activities or like substances, maybe those are herbs sometimes too, but I try to
Yeah.
sit and go, wait, what am I actually needing? Maybe I pull my tea first, or maybe I pull my chew first or something like that before I do what everybody does. I'm kind of like, oh, everybody's doing that. What does my body need? So
Hmm.
yeah, it's to me, it is the grounding, coping part of it all. I was telling my friend, I was like, if our bodies go, our souls can't fulfill what we're called to do. I have all these great ideas and they'll never get written. So I definitely am honoring her more through the plants bring you right there. Beets. Yeah. I've been sitting with beets a lot. So
It makes me I've loved the lemon balm oat straw, like the tea that I got after that session you all led. So I'm taking the bag that I made for New York and Hannah and then some of that tea to her. But so I've really appreciated like getting more granular in terms of how those can be incorporated and support our journey. But this past weekend I was in Colorado Springs and I don't know if you've seen the plant. It's called a wood spurge.
good person.
So it looks, I'll text you a photo,
Mm,
but it's kind of like a long leaf bush, and the leaves are kind of a red and green.
mhm,
And the way that it's shaped and its texture, it holds drops of water, like rows of drops of water,
mhm.
large drops of water.
Yeah.
And so I'm outside and I'm like doing some calisthenic stuff, and I'm looking at this bush, and the sun is coming up, and
Mm,
it is like it's holding all of these little worlds.
yeah.
It was just like absolutely mesmerizing. And then also on the trails, like the cacti flowers or the wildflowers in the mountain, and
Mhm.
like being in relationship with each of those and pausing and actually like sitting with them. And what you're talking about, what are you drawn to, and what is that, what is that relationship, and how do we seek to understand that differently? That very much resonates, especially just with this past weekend and all of my trail time.
is something, particularly in these very uncertain times. So I work with a lot of abolitionist movement folk. I coach them, and I mean, it's hitting the fan. Like some of us are like, "What is
Yeah.
happening?" There's a lot of fear that I find. That's when the answers are like root down. So like you go on that walk, you see a certain cactus, you Google what the history is. It was, how it got there, and then you have your whole word for the day on what you might do with that speech you have to write or something like that. Or I do find they are speaking so loud to us. You don't even have to ingest them, right? If we're listening. And the beautiful soul that taught me this was my mentor, Empress Karen Rose. I want to shout her out. Sacred Apocryphy in Brooklyn. She drops a new moon kind of word every new moon and other times, and she gives multiple herbs to be drinking during that season. And so I encourage you, like, if lemon balm was good, that's what I know. I mean, she's dropping them like every couple of weeks, and I find there's these currents. Like she's like, for Gemini season, there's a whole lot happening right now. She's like, you should drink this because it will help this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just didn't realize the earth is so relational and didactic in the moment. Like it shifts
Yeah.
with you that I'm like, I want to learn those cycles and seasons more. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I followed her after I saw you tag her in something, but if not, I'm gonna go find it because I think that's super. The ongoing learning of that and being exposed to it is really wonderful.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground. So as we wrap up our time today, is there anything we haven't hit on that you feel called to speak to or just to name before we close up our time?
Yeah. I have such gratitude for artists and joy makers and visionaries who really take the time to sit in their gut and pull out into the world what they have. I guess I want to say like we need your art, we need your work, we need your jewelry because it does. I do think the spirit speaks. I think God puts a little piece of God in everybody, and we actually need each other to find the fullness. But we actually need each other to find ourselves. So, like to Mother Sierra, like I needed this to learn over time. My people were Oaxacan. It brought me to it, right? Or to slavery. My new friend. I mean, this man changed my life, and I'm still struggling with what he said. Like, I needed his visceral, like, up, pause before you react. God didn't do anything to you. So that boldness, that's not trendy, that's not going to get you paid, that's not going to all these things to be able to do, even you, Josh, to be able to be like, this is my style and this is who I am and this is how I want to be in the world. It does, I think it forces folks to find that in them. And so I think in a space, in a time like we are in the States particularly, we need imagination beyond this moment. We are fighting for things right here and we're like, it's like, no, you guys got to go beyond this current structure to really break it down and rebuild. And so I do think it's the time of dreamers and artists and futuristics. The people that are the marginalized, they're like, oh, that's not abolition, that's not anything. It's like, no, actually I think they're the
Actually,
ones that, yeah. So I remember saying like my goal in life, I'm a preacher, is to preach in a pink bikini.
yep.
And I know that if I can do it and nobody bats an eye, we have dealt with the harm of sexuality and sex stuff in churches. Like if I am doing that, we've moved past the paternalism and the homophobia and the sexism and the whole fear about sex and bodies if I'm preaching in bikini. So there's something about the adornment that gives us markers that we have been liberated. Or if we're not liberated and we preach in bikini, and I were to do that now, that is a lighthouse. Whether I get kicked out or not, it's like one day this will be normal. And I think that's what I appreciate about you and other artists and people who create what I can adorn myself with, is we need those posts to kind of move towards.
Yeah. That's one of the pieces that, especially in trying to search out work of independent designers and designers who are really creating intentionally, why that's so important to me. But whenever the sermon in the pink bikini's happening, let me know, because that's going to be a good day. That will be a good day.
Oh my God, I'm gonna tell you, if I ever do it, I'll be like, I
Yeah.
need people in the seats. I want to.
What you doing on Sunday?
That's right. Come through. You can wear a thong if you need to.
I'm
Right.
there.
Yes. And it's so, that's real. Thank you for that. It feels a
Yeah.
charge. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it one day.
Oh, I have no doubt. I have no doubt. I
Uh,
think it will be sooner than you think.
yes.
Yeah.
I receive it.
Okay.
It'll be a good sermon. Oh my
It
God.
will. Well, AW, thank you so much for making time for this conversation. It's been so lovely. And I'm very excited to continue to be in community with each other as both of our lives. And we as people evolve and our practices evolve and we continue to look at where there are those intersections and those potential places for collaboration. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So grateful.
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Adorned in Imagination. You can learn more at Adorned Pod on Instagram and TikTok, and go to joshmiller.ventures to check out more from season 2 and to revisit season 1, which was focused on the work of independent designers. You can also learn more about AW Shields at AW Shields, and also look up the work of the Root Cause Collective to see the impactful things that they are doing. We'll see you soon.